you cannot grow any business unless the consumer is happy with your offer. I think teachers will continue for the next foreseeable future. We are also now doing English learning who use AI in the way we do. If you have capabilities, success will chase you. We worked with BBC to start with 15 years ago, and we learned a lot from them. More funding is good. I don't believe in that process. Funding becomes an end in itself, and I've seen so many people who go from round to round, to now we've raised 100,000, now we've raised 1 million, then there's 5 million, and so on and so forth.
Welcome to this episode of Enticing from TICE.news. We are in the Edtech glut. A lot of startups, many startups are working in the education field, in the methods which have never been heard and seen before. They are educating masses, which we have in hordes in India. There are so many students now in India which needs education, and there are innovative methods of delivering education to those students. We have multiple startups, success stories available in India. Some are Byju's, Udemy, Coursera, and many other. There are many other specialist startups who are focusing on single set of skills development. And we have one founder who has reasonably successful in his own field teaching English to the students. I would like to welcome Mr. Vivek Agarwal, founder and CEO of Liqvid. So I would ask you first, you have made a very successful startup in the sense that you have reached to 1 million students teaching English, which is paramount for the success in their career. How has this journey been? Where did you start, and what made you think this idea?
So, I grew up in a very small town in UP. And we had really no exposure to English. So to learn English, my parents sent me off to this boarding school, and quite a premium boarding school. And so there was this teacher there. I think he was a geography teacher. He was Anglo-Indian, and we were talking class once, and somehow some context, and I said England instead of England. And he really took me apart. The whole class had a nice laugh at it, and I was thoroughly humiliated, right? Even though I was in maths and science, I was one of the best students, but I was thoroughly humiliated. So I think somewhere that sort of had stayed and made me want to ensure that less students suffer on their account of not knowing enough English. And that's what's motivated me to create this digital program that reaches out to a large number of students.
That's great. So when you started, did you face any challenges in starting and teaching English? Were they takers, or it was a journey very smooth?
No, certainly no entrepreneurial journey is smooth at all. I think when I started my first company before this, which was also in Edtech but focused on maths and science. So since then, the initial challenge has been internet penetration in India, access to computers, and after mobile came, it became a little easier. And so that's been a consistent challenge. But what's happened after COVID, last couple of years, we've seen a huge increase. I think we've made 5-7 years worth of growth in a year or two. And that's what's really helping us and giving us a tailwind. And we're seeing a massive increase in demand and usage of our offerings.
So tell our audience more about what your offering is. Is it meant for school students? Is it meant for college students? Is it meant for those who are preparing for competitive exams? Is it meant for anybody who's in the rural India or urban India?
Yeah, sure. So we have three offerings. One is for school. focused on spoken English, because the school curriculum doesn't really focus on spoken English. It is more focused on the grammar and writing. Then we have a program for employability, where we help students who may not be, who know the domain but are not that good at communicating and all that, to help get a job. And then we have for students who want to go abroad, we have a test prep offering around IELTS and TOEFL. So broadly speaking, the three segments why people study English. One is for social reasons, so they want to just speak English so they can learn English so they can talk better to their friends or to their relatives or at work. Second is they learn it for work, which is help them do better. And third is academic. So we cover all the three segments and provide it on the internet as well as on the mobile.
Is it all online, or you also have classroom-based teaching?
Yeah. So, we started this concept called Sometimes Connected, but 10, 12, when we first started out, because that time internet was still low. So people could deploy software on their local machines and then sync up once in a while for licensing and tracking purposes. So, but that model is now less, but it's still there. And most of the work today we do is actually online and internet-based. Yeah.
English is something which has spoken, there are tediousness relating to how you speak, the vocabulary, the pronunciation. Is it easy to teach online?
So, yes and no. So there are things that you can do better online, which is more practice and more exposure. But the things you better, so one of the big things about speaking English, like I said, the social aspect of English, people need to feel more confident. People, if they don't know good English, they're typically underconfident, and which inhibits their ability to communicate well. One of the things, benefits is by learning English, they get confidence. Now that confidence is best acquired in an offline setting, in a group when they speak. But today, a lot of online tools have come, especially leveraging AI. So for example, we have a spoken English voice recognition system integrated with a video role play. So you can keep speaking, listening and speaking and record your video and get feedback through AI. So you feel just like you're talking to somebody. So a lot of it can be taken care of, but it's not as good as being, in an offline, in a good classroom with a good teacher.
I remember when I was a kid, there used to be a book called Rapidex English Speaking Course. Yeah. And I lay my hands on that. It had a lot of sentences, the grammar, and it used to teach in a systematic manner. I think that was the first attempt ever to teach English in a structured manner in India. Do you think that is something which you are also imbibing and bettering, or your method is absolutely different?
So I think there are multiple ways you can sort of do this. So one is when we look at the school, right? Then we typically follow an immersive approach. So because school students have time and they have multiple years to go through the programs and learn properly and learn the basics and then practice. However, when you're looking for a job, you're a 22-year-old looking for a job, then you don't have too much time. So you're looking for some quick ways of getting a job. Right? There, I think you need to provide these tricks and tips that helps the learner get through an interview or get through a particular situation. Mm-hmm. So Rapidex was focused on, they identified what are the key mistakes a person makes, and then they focused on correcting those around 200 odd sentences, right? So we use some of that. So for example, we have this English for different industries. So you learn the vocabulary and some sentences associated with, say, a tech industry or a entertainment industry. So that prepares you better for a job interview when you go for interview in those industries.
Okay. I'll come to my favorite question. You built 1 million students community, and it's not a mean achievement. There are not many startups who generally are able to achieve that much of penetration into students community. What made you success? what are the 2-3 points, what are the factors which contributed to you penetrating this much?
I think the biggest factor is, focus on the learner, right? In a sense that when we design a program, it is trying to understand what the needs are and designing for that. It is not designing necessarily to an international curriculum or some curriculum that somebody else has used or an approach that somebody else has. So we worked with BBC to start with 15 years ago, and we learned a lot from them. Then we worked in the market, and so we put all those learnings together and to see what works for our learners. And I think that's the biggest thing. And enablement through technology. So we were one of the first ones to use teacher software. We were also one of the first ones to use mobile. Right? We are also now, I think, one of the few companies doing English learning who use AI in the way we do. So we've stayed ahead on the technology curve, focused on the user, and that's how this has come about.
Yeah, but I think this is a secondary thing that students would like or love your product, but you got to reach them first. How did you reach them first?
So the model we follow is that's a good point, right? I mean, you can do it either directly to consumer or you can do through the business. So we've chosen to work in a B2B2C way. So we work with publishers and other edtech companies who already have established channels and reach, and we work with them to teach their English to their users.
Okay, so you don't reach to the students directly?
Yeah, we do not offer we are not a B2C company. We don't, our consumers can't come online and buy our services.
If I want my children to sign up directly, they won't be able to do this.
They have to either go to their school or go to somebody else who's offering our services on their platform or whatever else it is.
Okay. Do you think this is the reason why you have penetrated this fast and this much?
So see, ultimately, you cannot grow any business unless the consumer is happy with your offering, right? I mean, so I think the key factor is consumer, and then it's a business model you choose where you have to execute well to scale up. No business model is easy, but we chose this option.
So, what are the challenges which you faced while talking to the publisher? Were they not so forthcoming in using your product? Or any other community of teachers? How did you do the teachers training? What made these group of segments?
So certainly it wasn't easy. I think what is different about us is, like I mentioned, a huge focus on the consumer as well as leveraging latest technology. But within that, I think one of the unique things, or probably the unique thing we've done, is to look at technology and content together for language learning. Most companies would create some content and then put it on a platform, right? We have developed the platform and with content in it, so that it works together for a better learning experience, and that is our differentiator. So we have, for example, a speaking video role play template. We have a speed reading template. We have vocabulary learning, very nice approach, which cannot be done individually by content or technology. It's a combination of the two, and that's where our unique appeal comes to.
When did you get the funding for your venture?
So we've been raising funding over the years. We've, in my previous...
When was the first time?
First time was around 2010, I think.
How much time into the startup?
3 years, 4 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
So do you think that was late or that was appropriate or early?
So see, I have done, so my previous company, so I've gone through the cycle before, right? So it depends on the situation. My previous cycle, I raised money very early, pretty much. I had no money then. So I raised money and I kept raising. And so I sort of I have a view on what funding works, what kind of funding to take, when to take, whether to take, right? So funding, I don't believe, is a unidimensional thing. That more funding is good. I don't believe in that process, that thought process. So I have raised funding when I think I need it, as much I need it, and the type of
Please educate our audience. What is the right time? Because many people feel that once they have an idea, they need to have funding to get started. What is the right time?
So I think, the mistake most entrepreneurs make, in my view, is putting funding before anything else. Right? Is that funding becomes an end in itself. And I've seen so many people who go from round to round, to now we've raised 100,000, now there's 1 million, then there's 5 million, and so on and so forth. But I think that's a wrong approach. I don't believe funding is the constraint. The constraint is the real thing is if you're providing value to the customers, you're making, you have a good business model. I don't believe funding will be a challenge. So, but having said that, if you subject to good funding, if you're a young startup, raise money as early as you can. Right, because it keeps you focused, it gives you investors, right? But don't make funding the end objective.
How much is the funding you've raised so far?
So we've raised about $3 million.
$3 million.
Yeah.
And in the first instance, how much was that?
So we've raised $3 million roughly in about $1 million chunks each.
Three times.
Yeah.
And do you think those investors who have invested early into you, they also helped you in propagation of your business?
So, yes and no. So again, I have
where I'm coming from is the kind of investors one should go for.
Yeah. So I think ideally speaking, largest bunch of investors are pure money people, right? They have investment banking backgrounds and all that, right? Now, I think they work better for when you are more at advanced level, where you need to measure revenue and your EBITDA ratios and all that, right? For early stage, even up till a better investor or a board member is somebody who's gone through the whole process of building the businesses, right? I think they can add enormous value to your business.
So these were angel investors, or these were venture capitalists?
Venture capitalists.
Venture capitalists.
Yeah.
Now, in case I ask you, how big are your kids?
So I have two daughters, 8 and 13 years old.
And do they also learn English using the tools you have developed?
So, fortunately, my daughters have grown up in a very different environment to what I grew up in. So in their school, everybody speaks English. They don't need to learn English. Both of them, touch wood, are deep readers, so their English is good enough. I don't think they are the audience for my products.
Okay, well, I think last few questions. When we are talking of generative AI, ChatGPT, and many other tools, even introduction of artificial intelligence, you did also mention you have tools where artificial intelligence is making learners interact with the machine to tell them what is good and what is not good. Will there be teachers around?
So, from whatever I can see, I don't think the teachers are going away anywhere. Right? I think teachers will continue for the next foreseeable future to be the center of the student educational experience. However, the role may evolve. Teachers will need to leverage technology more. Right? And in terms of AI, what AI has done, especially with ChatGPT, over the years, content was becoming less valuable, right? I mean, every publisher would tell you that their content is becoming less valuable. With ChatGPT and other generative tools, AI generative tools, that trend is accelerated. Mm-hmm. So the value is today not so much in generating content, but I think, we use a term we call living content. So each content piece has to be tagged and updated with what learners are doing with it. Mm-hmm. So the content has to, in that sense, evolve. Right? It has to be looked at as a living creature. Right? And so today, a lot of mistake I think a lot of companies make is create content once and then just leave it for several years. That's not going to work anymore. You need to put intelligence into that content, right? Mm-hmm. And leverage AI to I'll give you an example if you have time of one application that I'm very proud of. So we're creating this vocabulary base, what I mentioned, right? So we've used a forgetting curve of Hermann Ebbinghaus, which says that you learn something today, you forget it after time. We've implemented through an AI-based regression equation, which calculates the half-life of each word And so as you learn a word today, then you take assessment, and based on what you do, you get shown the word again and again and again till the time you learn. So it is a very good use case for using the learner, understanding of the learner, the AI, and the living content. And I think that's the direction this market is headed for.
Okay. When English is not the spoken language, probably 60% of the world, do you think this is a product which you are going to take outside India too?
So we are already, actually, our product is being sold in Central Europe, in Latin America, in of course Asia, so several parts of the world. It's different variation of the product. It's not a standard product, but English is a need. There are about 2 billion learners of language globally. In fact, you'd be surprised.
About 25% of the population.
25% of population, and there is a large population, for example, of Hispanics in America, for which they have a huge amount of English learning programs, right?
Even China can have
China is, of course, unlimited.
They've been hiring English teachers for long.
Teachers, yeah. So it's an unlimited market there. Mm-hmm. So there is so the market is absolutely unlimited, and I don't think it is shrinking. Because it's a network effect. I mean, if more people speak a language, then more other people need to speak language, right? So I think that's propagating itself.
Just last final words of wise advice to startup founders who are launching their product and starting generating revenue. What is the good advice you would like to make?
I think, the key advice is don't chase the money. There's this movie, right, 3 Idiots, and I keep quoting where Amir Khan says that don't chase success, chase capability. And he put it in a nicer way. I'm trying to just paraphrase that if you have capability, success will chase you. I think it's the same in business. If you have good product, good offerings that consumers love, money is not going to be a problem. Success is not going to be a problem.
With those words, I think that's a brilliant thought, and I would like to thank Vivek ji and continued success. My best wishes for your continued success. Thank you, and we'll meet the next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you for having me.